Pam Sherman. Oh, I so enjoyed talking to Pam. So close to my heart. She is, I open up with the question, how important, how necessary is strength training to, 50 plus year old? And she said it's one of the most important things. Obviously, there's the answer. She helps people, mostly women, with exercise, with nutrition. She used to be a marathon runner. She had a car accident that changed her trajectory in her exercise, and she's great at helping people utilize good health. The difference between, so often we hear people saying, I want to be skinny. But there's a big difference between being skinny and being healthy. Her father was an excellent athlete, almost an Olympic runner. And she grew up in that household where, she would just run all the time. She's got great tips. Wait till you find out what a BAS is, BAS. Another great quote is about food and nutrition. If your grandmother doesn't recognize it, don't eat it. We have a great discussion on the 3 pillars: sleep, nutrition, and exercise. But she's got such great attitude. She's got a great story, great videos on her social media, just a wonderful, inspiring conversation with Pam Sherman about being healthy. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business? And it lasted over 25 years. Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission, how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Disciple Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. Great conversation with our audience. Pam Sherman, thank you so much for your time today. Very, very excited to talk to you. How necessary, put it in some kind of range, how necessary is strength training for us 50 years and older?
It is the most important thing we can do to be strong as we age, to not go into a nursing home before we want, to be able to play with our grandkids if we're lucky enough to have grandkids, to be able to lift our own groceries, to be able to get up out of a chair. It is the number one thing people over 50 can do for their long-term health and wellness.
And of course, the stigma is these very large, mostly men, picking up these huge weights in the gym, and nobody wants to be a part of that. We've got to move away from this.
It's the biggest myth that won't die. In fact, right. I get Arnold Schwarzenegger's daily newsletter, and he said, if only it was that easy to build muscle.
Right.
I've spent thousands of hours. For most women, they're afraid to, but they pick up their kids and groceries and things that weigh more than the little pink dumbbells.
And it doesn't, just even using your body weight, right? Push-ups and sit-ups, you can't get to a gym. There's plenty of I'll use the word cheats, but there's plenty of ways to work around it. Every
time you're in your kitchen, if you bust out 20 kitchen counter push-ups, right, that adds up.
I heard you say that. Yeah.
It really does. And everybody can do it. People, I don't have enough strength. Everybody can do it from a kitchen counter. Good on the wrists. Wide is great for your shoulders. Close in, ladies, great for your triceps. It's something that everyone can add into their day.
I used to coach my daughters in soccer, and to try to convince the girls, the teenagers, preteen, have a soccer ball, even a small soccer ball in your room. And every time you touch it with your foot and just dribble it around and walk over to your socks, whatever, every time you touch it, you get a little bit better. It's the same thing, right? You can't feel like, well, I do this, won't do anything for me. Everything helps though, doesn't it?
Everything helps. In fact, I just taught a step class on Wednesday, and I said to the participants, thanks for coming to my health and fitness party. And every time you work out, every time you move your body, you're putting coins in your long-term health piggy bank. And I'm 56. I used to want to destroy my students in class. It's not about that anymore. It's about, I want you to feel great next year, in 5 years, in 10 years, and still want to get out and move. It's a whole different concept on, I want everybody to age really well. And if we're lucky enough to get older, I want you to feel great as you age.
And we were talking briefly before we got on. You used to be a runner. Your father, almost Olympic runner, and you did a lot of running and these marathons. But then you kind of pushed away from it. You said just hill sprints today.
Yeah, no more long distance running for me. It was a natural progression after high school. My friends and I did not run at the Ohio State University because we were not good enough, but we liked to run together. So we fell into running the Columbus Marathon every year. It was just something to do with my friends. It wasn't, none of us were ever very good. I did run a very good time. One time I had one great race, but my exercise life has just progressed to, I still love to run. It's my happy place, but not the slogging, the short bursts of, intensity, or even like a walk run. That still gives me a fix of running without a 10-mile, 90 minutes outside.
Played soccer as a youth. And unfortunately back then, I know you talk about when you did all that running, the internet wasn't around. So there wasn't this training. There wasn't all this great knowledge share. But, punishment back then when I was a kid in the 70s, I'm just the same age as you, was, hey, you did something wrong, go run. So running became a punishment, and then it just conjures all kind of negative things. And it's the worst thing that you could do. Not the worst thing, but it's a bad thing.
It is not a good thing because for a lot of people, running can be a lifelong sport. I mean, my dad ran until he had dementia. So until his brain couldn't let him run, but he was 74. And I think some bodies, it's just easier to run. We're not the typical skinny body type, that an ectomorph. We have more muscle, but his knees were fine until the end. And it's we all can walk for sure outside, but some sports you want to get into something you can do for the rest of your life and not just, I was talking to a gal yesterday who said, oh, I did the P90X. Remember that? I said, yeah. And that's not sustainable for anybody. That's crazy hour-long workouts that I don't want to do a crazy hour-long workout at 56. Right. That's for sure.
Yeah, I used to do CrossFit for a while, and it was high intensity, but just accident prone. I hurt my shoulder, and anything that comes close to affecting my golf game, Pam, forget about it, and can't do it.
Now my husband's a golfer. I hear that loud and clear. That's the number one priority.
Yeah, it certainly is. And it's fascinating, your upbringing, your sports home. Right. Everybody, your father was a runner. It was a big athletic home. Mine was as well. When I grew up, it wasn't, but I grew my girls up, and, I play a lot of sports, and, I always tell my girls, if you're not going to play soccer, play something else. You got to substitute it with something else.
Yeah, I did the same thing. Both my kids were soccer players, and my son was stopping when he was a senior. And a friend of mine, a man, had a gym, and I took him there. I'm like, hey, I want you to learn how to lift the right way, because obviously I don't know what I'm doing. Why would he want to listen to mom? I took him there, and much to his chagrin, I know what I'm doing. He got back in the car after that first workout and said, I've never felt so good in my body as I do right now. And to this day, he still goes to that gym and trains, because I knew his soccer's over, but we're an athletic family. We like to move our bodies. I wanted to show him there's another way to work out without running or without soccer. And he still runs. He runs and he lifts, which is great.
And that same exact thing happened with my oldest daughter. She stopped playing, and I was soccer, and I never forced anything. I said, no problem, just substitute it with something else. And I was doing CrossFit at the time, and she came and she learned how to properly do deadlifts and do squats and do, pull-ups, etc. And she loved it. And to this day, she's still doing it. She's graduated college, and it's just, you have to instill upon them, exercise is a part of your life. It's not temporary. It's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Make sure you do something.
Period. And they see us do it. In fact, from the time my kids were little, Mother's Day was Mother's Day workout. Every Christmas is a family workout. Every Thanksgiving is a family workout. That's just what we do as a family. And my son hates it because he lifts heavy. So a lot of the stuff is body weight stuff or like box jumps, push-ups. Who's always the first one done? And he just can't stand it. I'm not going to be there for very much longer, but I get him. And it's just, I love that.
Yes. Now, you had a terrible accident, a car accident, didn't break any bones, but you got hit by a car and it kind of shifted your kind of exercise career.
It did. I am I was a snobby runner. Why bother unless it's 3 or 4 miles? Literally, why get sweaty? I was terrible. And then I face planted into a car and lost a bunch of teeth, had to have a bunch of oral surgery, but my question was, will I be able to run again? I was literally in the ambulance, like doing this, like, I don't think I broke anything. I think my ankles feel good. And it was about a month later that I ran 1 mile. I'm like, I am thankful to run 1 mile, which I never thought I would say, not after being a marathon runner. And that really was a paradigm shift because before it was running half marathons, I was actually training for a 9-mile race. Every step I take now, I am so thankful for. It's not more is not better. Doing it is better.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And your philosophy on not your philosophy, but your way of talking about protein, about how important protein is in the diet. You have your BASS, right? Tell everybody what your BASS is.
Okay, BASS. I stole this from Jill Coleman. I did not make it up. Big ass salad.
Yeah.
Most Americans do not get enough fiber. The people I follow say they get between 6 to 10 cups a day.
Wow.
That's a lot. And I always have protein with my salad, but protein is not as pretty as vegetables. So I don't ever include it unless it's a protein shake. But we are losing muscle every year after the age of 40 unless we strength train and eat enough protein. I have never talked to one woman, and I've been doing this 27 years, who has eaten enough protein. Because women love their carbs. They love the carbs. They're delicious. It is so important to get enough protein. I want to be strong and functional. And we all see people in the grocery store, older people like hunched over and really frail. Our needs probably go up as we age to preserve our muscle. It's just a very hard thing for people to do.
The problem I have with salads, especially ordering them in the restaurants, is that those dressings are just seed oil, and they make you feel. You got to make your own dressing, or the dressings are just terrible out there. You look at the ingredients and what's in them.
It's bad. Actually, when I go out, a lot of the times I get a burger, no bun, and a double veg. Because a lot of the salads have the dried cranberries, candied pecans, tons of cheese. Oh, it can be a 1,500 calorie salad. So there's like 1 or 2 places I go to that I know the ingredients are clean that I like, and the rest I'm like, I'll always get a protein and veg on the side. I mean, it is impossible to avoid the seed oils all the time, but I agree, they're just horrible for us.
Horrible. I could sense that they're bloated, but I've gone to restaurants where people are like, well, I'm going to have a salad. I'm watching my figure. I said, look at the calories in that salad. It's got caramel. It's got caramel nuts. It's got cheese. It's got the wafer, the taco shells. It's the burger is going to be less calories. It's you really got to kind of stay on top of that.
You do. I just had a client tell me something that blew my mind. Are you ready? She was out with a friend at a Mexican restaurant, and it's hard not to eat chips.
Yes.
So after the meal, her friend goes, so did you want to eat 7 tortillas tonight? And she's like, what are you talking about? The amount of chips you had, that was about 7 tortillas. Yeah. And putting it that way, it was like mind blown. On top of the meal, right? On top of the meal. I mean, it's just, and they're so light and crispy and delicious, but putting it that way, nobody goes out going, I'm going to have 7 tortillas and dinner and a possible cocktail. Like, that's a lot of food at one time.
Yeah. Those chips come out in that salsa. Oh my goodness. It's hard. It's hard to, oh my goodness. They're salty and warm. And now talking about which is like you completely stopped alcohol.
I did. Before my accident, I have always been a good eater, and I would have maybe 2 beers on a Friday night, and not even every weekend, maybe 2 weekends. But every time, because I ate so well, I would overeat. every time.
Mm.
I'll make cookies and I'm eating half the batter. I'm making cookies. Your brain tells you to eat when it can't, the beer brain, I called it. And then the next day I'd wake up with remorse and regret and think, I'm a fitness professional. When am I going to get my own stuff together?
Wow.
And then I get hit and I had to have a whole bunch of oral surgery. It took about 2 years to put all the teeth back in my head.
Wow.
And at that time I thought, I've woken up every day. I mean, I had some pain with my surgery, but I'm like, I feel great every day. I haven't made one bad night of binging. I haven't had any regret or remorse. And I'm like, I don't need alcohol because I like myself better without binging. And then 2 years ago, my brother died of alcoholism. But really, for me, it was more of I love myself and I like myself a lot more when I don't drink and then binge. That was it was a hard cycle to break. I only had to eat a windshield to break that cycle.
Yeah. And when people come to you and you work with people and they bring up the big D word, right? The diet word.
Yeah.
And what they have to give up. I'm not going to give up my wine. I'm not going to give up ice cream. I'm not going to give up this kind of, how do you combat that?
I say you have to love yourself enough to want to make the changes. The self-love has to be more than your love for ice cream or your love for wine. And and this is not a popular opinion, but if you need wine to get through your life, you maybe need to change your life.
Yeah.
And I think everybody gets to a point. I've struggled with my weight myself a couple times in my adult life. And then you get to, actually my brother was sober for 7 years. And when he went to rehab, I said, what was it that changed for you? Because he had been an alcoholic for 23 years at that point. He said, I was throwing up blood and I knew that I was going to die if I didn't go to rehab.
Wow.
The times that I have lost weight, or, I got to a point where I'm like, I can't do it anymore. Like, you have to be just sick and tired of how you feel, how your clothes feel, to actually make a change. So it is a big pain point to want to make a change. If you're comfortable and you're happy, you're not going to change. If you think, I can't fit into my clothes, I don't like how I look in the mirror, I don't like how my body feels, when I exercise, if I exercise, I don't have any energy, I don't sleep well, all the things. When you get to that pain point, you want to make a change, you're going to make the changes it takes.
Yeah, you certainly are. And how do you feel about, I don't know how to phrase the whole, it's not new, but this kind of body shaming thing where people show up to doctor's appointments with notes saying you can't weigh me because I can't feel, it'll feel negative on me, and you can't, that whole kind of initiative.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Especially this is a public figure, but like Lizzo, body positivity. She's going to have heart disease in 10 or 20 years. She probably already has type 2 diabetes. Her life is going to be shortened because of her lifestyle. And there is a difference between shaming and if you're more than 50 pounds overweight, you're probably going to have type 2 diabetes.
Right.
And that's going to be a measure of blood test, of course, instead of weight. But I think our society has gone too far in the feel good, that nobody wants to have them have anything bad said to them.
Yeah.
If you're 100 pounds overweight, your life is going to be shorter and it's really going to be terrible at the end. I think we've gone too far the other way. Now, if you don't want to get weighed, if you weigh yourself at home, that's fine. But it's your doctor's job to tell you about your health. And I think now that I'm at this age, I'm in the third quarter. We're all going to get to the end of the fourth quarter, but I want to do it as well and as strong, as healthy as I can. My father-in-law, he died of obesity. His life was not great. I've seen somebody die because they were 100 pounds overweight. His mobility was a challenge. He was on all sorts of medication. He was not happy. The ending is it was not good. Ugh. So I think that's a bad direction that we're going. Or that we are in, I should say, not going, that we are in.
Right. That we're certainly in. Yeah. Hopefully it ends soon enough. I all my friends, we all played sports, and, you get to the point where, hey, you're gaining weight, you've gained, we tell each other. I have a great relationship with my primary doctor, and every once in a while she'd say, hey, did your Peloton break? This is I mean, I loved it. Right. I said, okay,
Yeah.
I got message received. Okay. Next time I'll be 15 less, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like to hear it. I got a different mentality in these kinds of things. And,
Yeah.
I think it's positive. I just think it's positive.
Well, I was with some high school friends a couple years ago, and my one friend, she patted her middle. She was like, "Look, I have menopause middle." And we've been friends since we were 15 years old. I said,
Uh-oh.
"You don't. You have wine middle." And she said, "You're right." I said, "You drink every day. That's sugar going in your body at our age. It's going to sit in your middle." She did a dry month. She logged her food. She lost 20 pounds in a couple months.
Wow.
But it does, I think it would be great if everybody had people like us in their lives to be like, or your doctor, because a lot of doctors are afraid to say anything.
Right.
And she probably knew you would take it well. I bet she has patients who would not take it as well as you do.
She knows me very well. She elbows me, and yeah, absolutely. And one of your pet peeves is when people tell you how many calories they lost after a workout.
Oh, I burned 500 calories on the treadmill. Did you really? I mean, they're inaccurate. So, in fact, I remember being at my gym. I live across the street from a gym, and it was New Year's Eve. And a guy was on the elliptical saying, "I know I'm going to eat a lot tonight, so I'm going to stay on here till I burn 1,000 calories." Like, our bodies are not a checkbook. They're like a chemistry experiment. It's not in and out, because there's a digestion. It's so much more than that. He wasn't my client, so I didn't say anything, but I've never forgot that. Like, dude, you are so wrong. That is not the way it works.
But perhaps the ends justify the means. It's good that he's on there anyway.
Yes.
Whatever kind of gets him through the night, but the logic isn't sound, but still, at least they're exercising, right? I guess.
My husband still says that. I burned 200 calories on the step mill, and I cringe. But you know what? That's what I say. He's here. He's working out. He's doing something, which is always better than being on the couch. So yes, that's a terrible thing for me to think. But the fact is, they're still moving, as opposed to being at home eating all day.
That's right.
So I just want to tell people out there that those machines are not 100% accurate. A guesstimate, if you're walking or running, a guesstimate is your body burns around 100 calories a mile. If you're walking or running, that's just, it's been around forever. But besides that, it's really more important what you eat than your exercise if you're looking for weight loss.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, Pam, because there's a big difference between losing weight and getting healthy.
A very big difference. And that was actually a turning point after my accident, because prior to that, many women, all the women I work with actually, they want to lose weight. They want to be skinny. I had been strength training on the regular for about 3 years when I got hit. And I know there was luck involved, Joe. I know there was luck that I didn't break anything. My Garmin got smashed, so I probably would have broken my wrist had I not worn my Garmin. But I went away from there thinking, I need to teach people to be strong for their long-term health. Let's forget about skinny. I mean, we've all seen skinny older people. It's not attractive. It's frail. That's it. Let's really focus on strength. So I really did change from, yes, I still want to help women lose weight, but I want to do it in a different way where you're adding more protein, adding more vegetables. And something you said earlier about taking away their favorites, I try to teach that I want you to add things. Let's add a couple walks to your day. Let's add more veggies. Let's add a BAS to your day. Let's add veggies on your other meal. Let's keep on adding more water. Let's not focus on the negative. Let's focus on what you can have. You can have anything grown from the ground. That's a ton of food. The stuff in a box, never really going to serve you.
That's right. Yeah, you mentioned what your grandmother said. If you don't recognize it, don't eat it. Right? If your grandmother couldn't recognize it, don't eat it. And shopping on the perimeter of the store, those inside aisles just have not good stuff.
Well, I was walking down the cereal aisle last week, and just the lies on the cover of cereal boxes. I'm sorry, Cheerios is not heart healthy for anyone.
To say that? Does it say that?
It says heart healthy. If you have a 2-year-old in an extra saucer, yes, Cheerios are great for that 2-year-old in an extra saucer. Besides that, they're a straight carb, which is a sugar in your body. That's not good for your heart. But people who don't know about nutrition, I'm going to get those. Those are heart healthy. And then I'm going to have a banana with it. So I'm adding sugar on top of more sugar. And there's no protein anywhere. And then you're hungry in an hour. So you're going to have maybe more.
And milk's got loads of sugar in it as well.
Yes, yes. And it's interesting because I feel like the media has villainized salt when
Right.
sugar is the real villain.
The American public is addicted to sugar. There's no question about it. It's in everything. You try to avoid sugar. I know you do. You don't have a lot of sugar, but it's in some spice mixes have sugar in them.
It's crazy. And I was just talking to a client who had low blood pressure. I said, "Do you put salt on your food?" And she's like, "Well, no." I said, "You need to put salt on your food." So what do they do when you go into the hospital? They put you on a saline drip.
Interesting.
Our bodies need salt, not salt from processed food, real like salt grinder, regular salt. It's not bad for us, but the media will have you think it's bad for us when sugar is what's killing our country, really.
It is. It's in everything. And, the manufacturers will say, well, we're only selling what people will buy. It comes down to money as usual. So, I mean, the three main kind of pillars that I see, and there's lots of areas you can kind of move from this, but it's, nutrition, diet, what you eat, exercise, weight training, and then sleep. Are those the three main?
Yeah. And I'd say sleep is number one.
Yeah.
Because if you don't sleep, you're not going to want to work out and your brain is going to crave sugar. A good night's sleep is, and a lot of women in menopause have a hard time with it for sure. And there's no perfect number. It's they say 6 to 8 hours or more.
Yeah.
But the things that people don't do is stop scrolling on your phone an hour before bed. Yeah. So hard to do.
Yes.
Having a cool bedroom, which is easier this time of year, of course, have blackout curtains, but a good night's sleep determines everything the next day, your energy, your mood. I mean, we've all had bad night's sleep, and sometimes like if I can even make it to 8 o'clock, it's going to be a good day, right? Yeah. But it really is important. And daily movement. We were in Italy last summer. I had to search for one gym.
Right.
And it was like in the corner down one side street, yet everyone was a normal weight. And they only ate real food. Even at gas stations. There's an espresso bar with like real homemade sandwiches in there. And everybody's normal.
Yeah.
Their food quality is different. Their wheat is different. Our wheat, I can't go there. But yes, sleep, daily movement, strength training. And I always say, if you can do something that makes you laugh, that you have a good time with it. A gal I just talked to said, I used to love Billy Blank's Tybo. I said, he's still on YouTube. You can work out with him. And so, things that make you happy. What did you like to do as a kid? If you like to ride bikes, ride your bike. If you like to swim, go join a gym. Because exercise should not be a chore. And we all need to strength train whether you like it or not. But the other stuff should be things because you like to do them.
Yeah, I heard you talking about Rome, and my father's Italian, and I spent a lot of time in Italy. And all my relatives, they walk everywhere, Pam. They walk, they eat well, and they just walk everywhere. Nobody's overweight. It's so different.
And you know what they don't do? They don't carry around water bottles.
That's a good point. Interesting.
I read that in my husband gets the FT Times, and there was an article by a guy who lives in London, and he goes, "Your food has water in it. I'll drink when I'm thirsty. I'm not dehydrated." But yet everywhere around here, we're always drink. And I think a lot of people drink too much. But they have those fountains, right, in Rome where you can fill a water bottle, but you don't see anybody walking around with a water bottle.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of coffee, a lot of espresso, a lot of wine. But yeah, you seldom drink water. That's very interesting. And seldom have ice in their drinks, but they do smoke a lot, Pam, which is odd.
You know what? I'm so spoiled in California because you can't smoke anywhere.
No, you can't.
And being there is like, oh, there is smoke everywhere. It's so hard.
Maybe that's why they're partly skinny. I'm not sure. But I can't remember the last time there was cigarette smoke in a restaurant here in the U.S. I travel all over the country. But over there, my goodness.
I waitressed in the early 90s when there were still smoking sections. So like 91, 92, 93. And then we got away with it. But yeah, when I tell my kids, they're like, what do you mean you could smoke in restaurants? I'm like, you could smoke on the plane. And they're like, what?
You could smoke on the plane. Yeah. Hard to believe, and going back to, so the three main area, the sleep.
Yep.
I mean, it's so easy. It's so easy to do, people. You gotta create time for it.
And I say, turn your alarm on to put yourself to bed.
You
That
said that.
Netflix show is going to be there the next day, right? It's
That's
so easy to get caught up in a show. There's so many great shows out there. Have a book, calm your brain down. I love essential oils on my pillow when I go to bed, but it's the TV that sucks us in. And don't watch the news at night. You don't want to be overly stimulated. You want to actually be calming down.
Yeah. Those are all things that'll just get you all riled up. And, I work out. When I do work out, I gained a lot of weight at one point and I lost it all, but, I used to work out every morning, 5:30 a.m. I just like to get it out of the way. I find myself a little bit more alive in the morning.
I
That's
tell
me.
everyone to get it done at our age in the morning because we do
Right.
800 things by the time it's nighttime. We don't want to work out.
Yeah.
And congratulations on your weight loss. I had to feel amazing.
It did. It felt great. And another problem with working out in the evening is that my energy level's higher. And then I can't fall asleep, and it kind of interrupts everything, and
Yeah.
it's just very, very tough. And going back to nutrition, this whole idea that, I'm never going to have a hamburger again in my life. I mean, I live 80-20, Pam, so 80% of the time I eat very well. I intermittent fast. I'd like to talk to you about that. But, there are times on the weekends I'm out with friends. I have a burger, I have chips, I have et cetera, but it's just the exception. And it's not all the time.
I eat burgers all the time. I don't do the bun because gluten does not agree with me. There's
Uh,
nothing. Meat is a superfood. People should
Sure
not
is.
stay away from meat. It is a superfood. And if you have the burger one day, I bet the next day you're back on track.
Yes. Yeah. Quite easily. Yeah. Intermittent fasting, your experience, what are your views on it?
For men, great. For women, not so much.
Really?
During this, I'd say for women over 45, when you're in perimenopause and menopause, it's not good for our hormones. And I only know this because I work with a hormone specialist. I'm her fitness professional, and she's like, guys, they can get away with it, but for women, we really need to be supported, and we do need that protein first thing in the morning to get our bodies going.
Wow. Wow. Interesting. Very interesting. I didn't think there'd be a difference.
Our bodies are just what I mean. It's the joy of being a woman. From the start, from when we're teenagers, there's so much fun that goes on.
Yes.
And also, when you're intermittent fasting, you still have to make sure you should be getting for sure over 100 grams of protein, more like over 125. So in your window, that's probably eating a lot of protein 3 times.
125 grams. Wow. When I was counting all that, I would have protein bars, and I remember they were at 20. They were 20 each.
Yep.
So wow, that's 5 of those, and plus, you wouldn't eat all 5. It wouldn't be that wouldn't be the only source, of course, but there'd be chicken, there'd be turkey, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So if you do a protein shake, do a serving and a half, because most are around 25 or so. Then you get 40,
Right.
and that's a good jump there.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, isn't it? And going back to greens, I try to get dark greens, those deep greens, at least 3 times a week. The spinaches, the kale, they taste great to me, by the way. I have them with some eggs, and I put some nice spices in them. I love them. When you're cooking home, you tend to eat better.
Agreed, 1,000,000%. And the key to a really delicious big ass salad, you got to cut it up. I take my big
Right.
butcher knife and I cut it up really small. So my family of 4 adults, one of those huge green containers is not even
Yes.
enough because you cut it up
Wow.
and it makes it small. And then I'll add maybe some bagged cabbage in there, usually berries or a pear, like some kind of fruit, maybe some balsamic onions, a lot to get different textures in there, but cutting it up because that spring mix, you get the leaf that hangs out of your mouth because it's so big.
Yeah, you got to use the cooking shears and kind of cut it up in the
Yes.
bowl. And I mean, with the spinach, you're right. Those big plastic bins, I can get half of that and just put just a little bit of olive oil and maybe I have some like these Mamafuku spices. There's no sugar. It's just some different spices. And I just kind of saute it a little bit and it shrinks way down,
Way down. Yes. And you can
So
put
you
it
can
in
kill one of
eggs,
those. Oh, yeah.
pasta
Yeah.
sauce. I mean, you can
Yes, yes,
soup.
yes, yes. Onions.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. It's so good for you. And my father's Southern Italian, so it's more olive oil than it is butter. Northern there's a lot of butter. So I just don't cook with a lot of butter. But I just find that when I cook, it's much better. There's so many, and then if I make a salad for myself, my daughter eats them all the time. I just use extra virgin olive oil, just some vinegar, maybe some Dijon if she wanted to spice it up, and then some spices and a little salt and pepper, and whip it up, and there you go.
I do the same thing, and I do either Dijon or a little bit of whatever stone ground mustard,
Ah,
garlic. And I'm
yes.
lazy. I buy the squeezed garlic,
Yeah, me too.
and then I'll put coconut aminos in along with the balsamic. It doesn't have to be hard. I mean, you can make a
Right.
big thing of that, and that could last for a week.
I sure can. You put it in one of those mixing jars, and it's those grapeseed oil, canola oils.
Ah.
Oh, just do everything you can to avoid those. They're
Well,
petroleum based, Pam.
and a lot of if you look at labels like hummus, a lot of the hummus brands, their
Mm,
first ingredient is canola oil.
right.
So you can make it at home if you want. I just found one, Hope hummus does not have
Huh,
canola oil. It has olive oil in it.
very
So you
nice.
really want to look if you're a big hummus eater. I mean, that's delicious and yummy, but you definitely don't want to get even Trader Joe's. I looked at it, I was like, it's canola oil.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, get some split peas and just chop them up, or smush them up like you do with avocado. If you want to make guacamole, just get your own, and people don't want to do that. I can understand that. I love to cook, but it doesn't take much. It
No.
doesn't take much. I make my own pasta sauce. So I just get tomatoes, onions, garlic, get some spices, and off you go.
Yeah, and it's now when people say I don't know how to cook, I'm like, come on.
Yeah,
There's
you can
YouTube,
follow
there's
instructions.
allrecipes.com. There's
That's right.
it it's not I'm not a gourmet cook by any means. I make very easy, simple stuff. It's not hard.
It's not hard. It's not hard. When I hear that, it just means they don't want to follow instructions, And I've been with people where they put something on the stove and then they come over and they talk to you, and then 10 minutes later they smell something burnt. Why did you leave it? Just stay with it. Because I think the difference between cooking and baking kind of
Yes.
put something in and let it sit. Cooking, you just kind of sit with it for a little while and then experiment.
What's your specialty?
Well, like I said, my father's Italian, so everything's got an Italian slant to it. So it's a lot of, there's no such thing as enough garlic, as you mentioned,
Never.
and never, and it's so good for you. It's
Uh,
so good for you.
I used to teach a morning class, and my members would tell me I smelled like garlic. I was
Yeah,
like,
that's the problem.
"It's coming out of my pores?
It
Oh
is.
my
It comes out of
gosh."
your pores. Yeah, you can't help it. Yeah, curry does that too. For a lot of the curry eaters, it comes through, and that is the bad thing. So you don't want to have it all the time, but it's so very healthy. And you're a big advocate for meditation.
Yes, this year I decided on New Year's that I need to add some calm into my day, and I love the app Insight Timer. And I literally set my alarm every day at 4 because usually I'm not doing anything. I would start making
Wow.
dinner at like 4 or 4:30. I gave myself 15 minutes, go outside, shut the door, and I made it a habit. And some days when you're busy, I'll do a 5-minute one. Doesn't have to be 20 minutes. Some days I really like this track on YouTube. It's called shamanic drumming. It's just a rhythmic beat.
Hmm.
But I find in our society we go, go, go. And, outside running, my meditation time as well. I mean, I really feel like that's my church, so to speak, being outside. But I find
Mm.
when I quiet my mind, when I take the time to quiet my mind, I just feel better. And I try to when I can't, I just can't even deal with a guided meditation. I put that music on and I just count to 10 breathing on the days I don't have time. And I get up and I'm like, I feel so much better, just more grounded. And it doesn't take a long time, but we go, go, go. But I want to tell people that when you take the time to breathe and just take the time to listen to nothing, listen to nature, if you're outside, it really does make a nice difference in your day.
And how were you from separating your thoughts and thinking, having act on them?
So in the beginning, I did guided meditation because I get monkey brain. I'm like, how do you meditate? How do you?
No.
So I did guided. And then when I do my counting to 10, if the monkey brain comes in, I make myself start over at 1 until I get to 10 without monkey brain. I might have to start over and over and over again until my brain's like, I'm done here. Let's get to 10. So it's a practice like anything else. You're not good at it right off the gate, right out of the gate.
Yeah, monkey brain. That's fascinating. The analogy, I did guided in the beginning too, and the analogy that really stuck with me was, traffic is in front of you. You're on a hill watching traffic cars going both ways. The cars are your thoughts, and they're separated from you. Separate them away. So that helped me say, okay, any thoughts that are coming, I'm just going to push them away and just, breathe. And it's also the greatness of being off the grid. I mentioned that I walked 18 holes this morning. I played golf, and I turned that phone off, Pam, damn it. I've turned it off, and I'm hitting that ball. And, I may swear once or twice with a bad shot, but I may pump my fist making a good putt, and I'm talking to my friends, and I'm away, and I'm getting a nice sweat. And it's where I want to be. It's
really nice to unplug. And my job is on the phone. I'm on the phone all the time, posting on social media, talking to clients. So the times that you can not look at it, it's joyful.
Certainly is. And we both come from a generation where we were never on the grid, and now we're always on the grid, it seems. And it's just to pull away from it. I took a little vacation. We went up to the lake here in the Northeast, and I purposely put my phone away. I turned it off. It didn't carry it with me. And you feel real weird, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, what if somebody's trying to get in touch with me? I lived my whole life without this thing. It's going to be fine for a day.
In the 70s, our parents didn't care about us for 8 hours a day, and we were fine. They come home for lunch and say, get out of the house. We made it.
Yeah, we certainly did. My daughters that are now 23 and 20 have never heard a dial tone.
Of course they haven't. Oh, wait, you didn't have a house phone when they were little?
They don't know. We may have, but they don't remember it.
Wow.
They've never heard a dial tone. Think about that.
Do they remember your home phone number? Because my kids still remember our home phone number.
No. They don't. I don't think so. Yeah, it's just very, very different. It's not that it's worse or better, just like being in Italy. It's just different.
Yeah. I remember as a 6 or 7 year old telling my parents, I'll be at anybody's house that me or are outside by. At 7.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was fantastic. It was fantastic. I mean, we were in front. We can go on about this, but I mean, I was in the front seat of the car with no safety belt, sometimes on my father's lap while he was driving. It was just different back then. I tell this story. I was 10 years old. Pam, it was the first day of summer, 3rd grade. My father gives me a suitcase, says, put your clothes in it. He's an Italian immigrant, like I said. He brings me to the bus station in New Haven, tells the bus driver to drop me off Terminal 1 JFK at the airport, gives me a plane ticket and a picture of my grandmother. You're going to meet your grandmother in Milan. 10 years old with a suitcase. I was so excited. I got on that bus. It took me to JFK. I've asked somebody. I got on a plane. I flew to Milan. I found my grandmother. I mean, he'd be arrested now if this...
Yeah. Well, a 10-year-old wouldn't be allowed to walk around without a parent now.
Exactly. Yeah. He's like, this is his thing. There's adults there. You'll be fine.
Oh.
This is 1978. I was born in 68. So, by the way, I spent every other summer, all the summers between college, in Italy with my relatives. And, it made me the person I am today. Yeah. But, again, it's just very different back then. We didn't have a cell phone. What if something happened out there in Queens?
We drove across the country from Rochester, New York to the Bay Area in California. My brothers I was 5, so they were 11 and 12. No cell phones, right. No movies to watch with a dog in a station wagon that looked at my dad for 3,000 miles until he said, get that dog down. How did we do it without dying of boredom? I don't know.
So our point of all this is that we can get off the grid and still be happy and still, get good sleep and still treat ourselves well, which brings me to of course, I started my business in the early 90s, and Pam, I was just working way too much. It was 14-hour days. I was doing everything. I'm in the tech industry, and then, pizzas and soda. And I stopped playing tennis, and I stopped working out because I was working every day. I was up to 340 pounds. And that same doctor who said to me, is your Peloton, bro? She said to me, if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. My oldest was just born. And that's all I needed to hear. So the next 6 or 7 months, I didn't tell anyone. I worked out every day. I lost about 130 pounds. I've got pictures of all the clothes. I was 46-inch waist. I'm now 32, and I lost 130 pounds. And people ask me like it's some secret that I'm going to give them, right? Like, oh, I climb trees every day, and I love. There's no secret. Everything we talked about today is what people need to do. But my basic answer is always discipline. How did I lose the weight? Discipline.
After Tom Hanks came out with the movie Castaway,
Yes.
people asked him the same thing because he had to get really skinny. He said, it's time and discipline.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
all
it.
it is. I don't know how else to break it down for you. How does discipline play a role in your life, Pam?
Well, I think we all make time for the things that we want to do. And for me, exercise is a non-negotiable. I have a hard time not working out. I know my body needs a day of rest, but I have a hard time not to because it's therapy. It keeps me happy. My brain works better when I move my body. When I eat better, I feel better. So people might say I'm very disciplined, but it's the way I love to live my life. When I eat crap, I feel like crap. So I don't eat sugar. My dad died from Alzheimer's. Yeah. I might once or twice a year, but it's never a regular part of my day. So I feel like I had a friend say to me, there's freedom and discipline. When you decide to live a certain way and you make those choices, it might be discipline. It might be your daily habits. Those things are my daily habits now. So yes, I'm very disciplined, but I wouldn't have it any other way because I feel great when I wake up. I'm 56. I have no aches and pains. Even, getting hit by the car. I stretch. Stretching, I think, we didn't talk about that, but I think stretching is really important after all your workouts. And going to Italy, Joe, to your point, people walked everywhere. People need to walk more. We are sitting so much. And I've seen things in the media like sitting is a new smoking. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I know people are far too lazy. Nobody should be door dashing. You should be walking. You should be, I mean, really, that's
the one good thing about Manhattan, I'll say, is that after you walk everywhere, after you eat, you walk around. There's so many times where we get in our car, drive to the restaurant, get back in the car. Let's just walk a block or so and then get in the car. I love to walk after I eat. It just feels so necessary to me. Discipline is freedom. That's absolutely wonderful because how else are you going to get what you want to get done? The simple fact of just not drinking sugary beverages is half the battle.
Well, can I tell everyone that when you're ordering that at a coffee shop, that's not a coffee drink. It's cake in a cup.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. And I just did the math in my head. You lost 26 bags of sugar, Joe.
Wow.
Because a bag of sugar is 5 pounds.
Huh.
If you stood, you couldn't even hold them. You could put them in a grocery cart. That's tremendous.
Yeah, and it is something, I've never had a cup of coffee my whole life. It's just never something I never started. At this point, I only see it as a negative. So why start? But I make coffee runs for my friends every once in a while, and they have to text it to me because I can't tell the difference between all of them. But it's just, my daughter used to work at Starbucks, and it's just so much sugar and so much. It just seems, I don't know, unnecessary. But caffeine's a must for many people.
I can't believe your grandmother didn't give you some as a 10-year-old. Really?
I know. My father used to put wine in my bottle. He told me drops of wine, but no, never coffee.
There's nothing wrong with that, getting you to sleep.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. But you're right. Cake in a cup. Yeah. Because you see the calories sometimes in these things. There's 1,500 calories in a drink.
The latest, what I saw was an apple cinnamon something, or there's 450 calories for a tall, which is a small. And I was like, that is a piece of cake. That's a lot. And you're not even full. You get hungry afterwards because your sugar makes your blood crash.
Of course you do. And you said something there. The tall is a small. That the portion sizes have gone. You see from the 60s, like people were drinking Cokes, but they were like 8 ounces or 6 ounces. And now these gulps of 30 ounces of, the size. If you're at a restaurant and you don't get a lot of food, people are upset.
It's different eating in Italy.
Yes.
And you're full. It's real food, so you're full.
Absolutely.
Nobody has to-go boxes because you finish what's on the plate.
And you get like a fistful of pasta versus like a pound of it you get in some of these restaurants today, and it's very rich, so you don't need more than that. My relatives think, my friends here, think all my relatives in Italy eat pasta. They eat pasta once a week. The Mediterranean diet, there's a lot of greens. There's a lot of fish. It's so much greens that they eat. It's just because the Italian Americans treat it a bit differently. But that Mediterranean diet is wonderful.
No, and when people say to me, well, I don't like vegetables, I'm like, adult up. You need to eat vegetables. Hey, I've had people on social media say, what if you don't like them? I'm like, you got to eat them. Like, figure it out.
It's like saying I don't like soup. Vegetables, there's, you got to eat that rainbow. I always think about that when I make my plate, have all the different colors. So if you don't like carrots, I don't know, eat peas. They're completely different. I don't like vegetables. God, please, adults. We're adults here.
Well, and you have to be a role model for your child. So you absolutely have to eat vegetables.
You have to eat them. You have to eat them completely. Pam Sherman, what motivates you?
I was born with motivation dripping out of my pores. Truly, I have always loved exercise. I was a trainer before I was a trainer, Joe. Wow. When I was 12, I was visiting my oldest friend who was 10. And we were having a discussion about running and Eskimo pies at the same time. And at 12 years old, I said, well, we have to run first because if we eat the Eskimo pie, we're going to get a cramp. I'd only been running for a year, but I knew this. And we're still friends to this day. So we've been friends for 51 years. And we still laugh about it because she literally got mad at me, put her hands on her hips and stomped away. So I want to motivate. I want other people to know they can feel their very best. Age is just an excuse. You don't have to have aches and pains. If you take, like I always say, our body is, name it, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche.
Sure.
We only have one of these to go through life in. And how you feel is a direct reflection of how you take care of yourself. And do you want to feel great every day? Have great energy? Be able to do all things you want to do? You got to put time into yourself and your health. The 14-hour days did not serve you on that journey, right? When you take care of yourself, you can go out, play golf, feel great, have fun with your buddies. A lot of people can't walk 18 holes these days, which is not okay.
It's not. Yeah. 18 holes, like 5 to 7 miles, depending on the course. And that's a whole nother subject of golf, and that's the golf cart. I can't stand the golf. But anyway, a lot of courses, you need them, of course, depending on layout. But motivation, it's fascinating to me, even at that young age, how motivated you were for this. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I think that first run with my dad, I had never felt so good in my body at 11. And I didn't stop. Like, we lived in Connecticut at the time. We lived on a hilly neighborhood, but I was that kid that you'd see outside running. Wow. I don't even know how many minutes. I didn't have a watch or anything. Because it made me feel good. And in Connecticut too, the 70s were a whole different story. We were very active as kids, and I liked the way it felt. And then I grew up in a super dysfunctional household, and running was my sanity. So it really saved my life. So I think it has always helped me out in every aspect of my life. And I feel like people who don't exercise on the regular, they're missing out because they really don't know how good they can feel. They don't know how much it can help their mental health. During COVID, it was interesting because as a trainer, I go into the grocery store, there's tons of fruits and veggies, but all the bread and pasta's gone. Like, why aren't you eating real food? And then for the people that are like, I don't have time to work out, you had all the time in the world, yet people were not out walking. I have a whole YouTube channel full of a lot of body weight workouts. Like, there's things you can do if you want to make it happen, but it didn't really change. People, they were jokingly put on the COVID-19, 19 pounds or whatever. Like, it's up to you. We can hire out everything else. We can hire out house cleaners, DoorDash, all the things, but you can't hire anybody to take care of yourself. And until you look in the mirror and go, I'm going to change, you're not going to change.
I always hear these issues about, communication breakdowns with relationships with friends, with partners, etc. And a lot of times it comes down to, before you can really love somebody else, you got to love yourself. You've got to treat yourself correctly. When I lost all that weight, I said, okay, I'm going to go back to exercise. I did a bunch of triathlons. And so, I hired a coach to teach me how to swim. And, I start getting out of bed is the worst part. As soon as you get out, you get to wherever you need to go, whatever you're working on, it's great. And then when you're done, my God, the feeling is always it's so rewarding. Your body rewards you. You feel it. Your body feels great.
You never regret a workout.
No, not once. How do you measure success, Pam?
In life and working out and business and with your family, I would say if you're proud of what you do, if you're proud of how you feel, that's a good measure of success. I've disappointed myself before, and that doesn't feel very good. In my running races, when I don't meet a time, I'm not proud of myself. But a couple times I've had great races, I've been so proud of myself. When you set a goal and you meet it, that's when I've been really proud of myself.
I remember when I drove away from that doctor's appointment where she told me that I wasn't going to see my daughter graduate. I remember thinking to myself, I am 100% responsible for what I've done to my body. I don't blame. Every once in a while, I'd rib my friends and say, why did you tell me I was this fat? I'm joking around because I see pictures of myself at like my wedding. I'm like, why didn't you say something? And they're like, well, we actually did, Joe. That kind of, but I remember thinking, so not only did I do this to myself, but I'm the only freaking person that's going to get myself out of it. And I'm going to stay out of it because, Pam, there's still a 340-pound guy inside me trying to get out every once in a while. I feel it. I feel it. And when I slip a little bit, I get right back. I stay on. I don't weigh myself very often, but I could just feel that I'm a little sluggish. Okay, let's see what we can do about this. And not everybody, many people look at weight loss. I want to get to this weight and they think it's a finishing line. It's not a finishing line. That means you can go back.
Well, I've seen too many people, my in-laws included. They did Weight Watchers. My father-in-law lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
My mother-in-law didn't tell us how much she lost. And then they were done. I'm like, it's for the rest of your life.
Yes.
The finish line is when we're no longer alive. That's
right.
Other than that, it is a lifelong journey. So all the people doing the quick fixes, I think you want to do it for the rest of your life. You want to be able to walk for the rest of your life. We can all walk the rest of our lives. So I think what's different about you, Joe, is many people in our society like to point fingers at other people. You actually looked at yourself, which I don't think a lot of people are comfortable doing.
Yeah, it's society, it's food, it's this. Did your in-laws gain the weight back?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. They always do. They had so many people. I know you look great. And then you see them a few months later and you could just see it kind of coming back on. And it's just losing the weight is difficult. Keeping it off is even more difficult.
Because it has to be a lifestyle. And people hate that word, but it literally has to be a lifestyle. And I remember being at my in-laws' house and my sister-in-law said to her dad, you're eating like 32 points for breakfast. That was your whole day before. And it was, it just didn't stick. My mother-in-law did keep probably half her weight off, which is great. But it was, I think when people do that, the process can be exciting, right? That 6-week process, that 10-week process.
Right. And I made it.
It's not as exciting that the maintenance phase for the rest of your life is not as exciting because I bet now nobody is telling you, Joe, you look great. But in the beginning, that you got a lot of that. When that fades, it's like you have to look within.
Yeah, sometimes if it comes up, I'll show them the picture of before and after, and there's a little bit of different. So we talked about success and how you feel and when you meet your goals. It's got to be a moving line. You've got to. I'm still maintaining this level. When I go to my doctor's appointment, I don't have to take the drugs I was forced to take at that weight, right? And I was pre-diabetic. I was pre-hypertensive. I actually don't have the skin. People have like the stretchy skin, when I don't have any of that. I'm very, very fortunate. I didn't let it get to me for that long, but people You have to take care of yourself. Your videos are so good, Pam. You're showing, you got your dog there, and you're doing the push-ups and you're so energetic. And how can people, thank you so much for your time. This was absolutely great. How can people find you?
If you want to work out with me, my YouTube channel is Pam Sherman. I have lots of different playlists. I made the 10-minute playlist in particular for everybody who said, I don't have time to work out, because we all have 10 minutes.
Yes.
I have a stretching playlist. Many do not like to stretch. It's not glamorous. It's not sexy, but your body loves to stretch. So I have a ton of videos on there. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at lowercase Pam _Sherman1. And Facebook, Pam Sherman. I love creating content, because I feel like for me it's easy, and if I can make it easy for anybody else, then that's a success.
It is a success. And by inspiring, just by this conversation, if somebody's listening and they're struggling and perhaps they found some inspiration, it's the greatest reward possible.
It really is, because your health literally is your greatest wealth. And that was after the accident. I thought, okay, I could have been killed easily.
Yeah.
If a car was in that second lane that I got thrown into, I would have been run over. And because I didn't die, I'm like, I have to reach more people on their health journey, because the goal for too many is to be skinny. Let's stop that. Let's be healthy for the rest of our lives. I hope you play golf for the rest of your life. I hope you're able to walk, right? 18, because you enjoy it with your buddies. I hope you're 80-year-olds on the course having a great time.
That is the goal. Yeah. This one gentleman we play with occasionally is 76. And the big thing is shooting your age. If you could shoot your age, that's even better. Pam, thank you so much for your time. Perhaps one day we'll meet face to face and, it wouldn't be coffee. I guess it would be tea or something else. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It was wonderful.
Loved our conversation. Thank you for having me.
You be well.
You too.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Disciple Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources, and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. It's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Disciple Conversations.